Today's the anniversary of Antietam, the single bloodiest day for U.S.-born soldiers in American history. This is Lincoln at Antietam. The summer before the battle, he had written the Emancipation Proclamation, but upon advice of his cabinet, he had not released it yet, because his cabinet thought, rightfully so probably, that if he did so, it would look like a sign of weakness, of desperation, of we're losing and we need help, blah! So Lincoln wanted to wait for some sort of military victory that he could tie the Emancipation Proclamation to. Again, technically no one really won Antietam, but since the Union successfully repelled Robert E. Lee's advance into their territory, he called it a win. 5 days later, Lincoln released the preliminary Emancipation Proclamation, essentially saying, yeah, we're doing really well. Let's go ahead and speed this up. Southern states, if you don't surrender by the end of the year, we're going to free all your slaves. Deuces! They didn't surrender, and he issued the Emancipation Proclamation in January. And generations of American white supremacists have never gotten over it. Emancipation led to the Reconstruction era amendments, the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments. And these are the amendments that American conservatives have been fighting to undermine ever since. And they are the direct targets of the Trump administration now. Southern states were required to ratify the 13th and 14th Amendments in order to be readmitted into the Union. The 13th Amendment abolishes slavery, except in cases where it's being used as punishment for a crime. Slave labor in prisons is very profitable in 2025. This is why Republicans in the House of Representatives just passed a bill greatly increasing prison sentences for people who are in the country illegally. If you didn't want them here, you just deport them, right? No. They want them to stay here in prison, making stuff for free. The owners of for-profit prisons in America are some of the biggest donors to the Republican Party. The 14th Amendment establishes birthright citizenship. I don't think I need to say anything else about that. But the Equal Protection Clause and the Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment give us most of our modern civil rights. Loving versus Virginia, the Supreme Court case that legalized interracial marriage, was decided greatly along 14th Amendment lines. So was Roe versus Wade. So was Obergefell. So was Brown versus Board of Education that outlawed segregation. These are all rights that the modern Republican Party, especially the Trump administration, has explicitly signaled that they are trying to overturn or have already done so. The 15th Amendment gave black men the right to vote. White supremacists so explicitly defied the 15th Amendment that Congress had to pass the Voting Rights Act in the 60s. The Republican majority of the Supreme Court has been slowly chipping away at the Voting Rights Act ever since. They will very likely put the final nail in the coffin of the VRA in October when they hear a case about it from Louisiana. The Battle of Antietam and the issuing of the Emancipation Proclamation were 150 years ago. White supremacists in this country have been mad that they've had to do their own work ever since and have made it everyone's problem. If white supremacists took the energy that they used to try to overturn the Reconstruction era amendments and put it into actually bettering their lives, they would be in much better positions and would probably be a lot less bitter.